What's up, everybody? Matt Malatesta, Jackson DiPasquale. When we have Jackson on, we know we're talking about some high school football recruiting in Greater Houston in the state of Texas. All right, Under Armour, big weekend. It was in Houston. We had some invites to the Under Armour game passed out as well. Fill us in. What happened Saturday, Sunday, or just Sunday?
So Saturday they had kind of the underclassmen come out,
Yeah,
just to get a kind of look at the underclassmen. Some kid and even some upperclassmen that might not have gotten the invite to Sunday, they go on Saturday and try to earn an invite to come back on Sunday and compete with everybody else who got the invites. So there were a few kids that got to do that. One of which won the MVP of the running back group, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But great event, all day event. Shout out to Under Armour and ESPN for putting that on. Lots of kids from Houston, Austin, San Antonio out there performing well. But starting off the day, it started off with offensive line and defensive line at 9 a.m. Had some really talented kids out there. You had 2026 Klein offensive lineman Nicholas Robertson. He had a really strong day out there, just committed to Texas, and he earned an All-American game invite based off his performance. So shout out to Nicholas for getting that invite there. And then also a kid that we've been talking about a lot recently, Kennedy Brown, 2027 offensive lineman from Kingwood. He got an All-American game invite as well. He just committed to play in the Navy All-American game earlier this week, and now he gets the Under Armour game. So that'll be interesting to see which game he maybe picks, or if he waits to go to the Under Armour game until next year, plays in the Navy game this year. So that'll be interesting. But Kennedy got the invite as well. As far as other offensive linemen that stood out, Devin Robinson from Pasadena Memorial was awesome. He won the offensive line MVP, dominated everybody. Has a top 5 or has 5 official visits set right now to Houston, Baylor, TCU, I believe Texas Tech, and I want to say SMU is the other school. I might be wrong on one of those schools, but he's going to be a kid that I think a lot of schools are going to be very happy to have evaluated early and jumped on early because he was by far, just based off performance, the best offensive lineman there at yesterday's camp. Then you look at maybe Center Texas 2028 offensive lineman, really stood out throughout the day. He's going to be a guy to maybe keep an eye on out of East Texas the next few years. But overall, just a good group of offensive linemen out there. And then on the defensive line side of it, you had Jalen Brewster up coming down from Dallas, comes down, performs really well, did really well at the Navy Combine a few months ago in January. He comes back out this time, performs really well. He earns an All-American game invite as well for the big boy, for the kind of offensive line, defensive line group. So those were 3 kids that got All-American invites for the offensive line and defensive line.
Pasadena Memorial? It's
Yes.
been a minute since anybody's come out of Pasadena Memorial. That's awesome. I think everybody falls in love with all the receiver 7-on-7 type stuff at a camp. But I think some of the most telling is that offensive defensive line matchup because they are in the trenches. And it's physical-ish because they don't have pads on, but they're getting dirty in there, man. It's pretty nasty in those drills and one-on-ones. It's kind of cool to see. What about with the skill guys? Who are you most impressed with?
As far as skill guys, we'll kind of start with running backs, linebackers real quick. CJ Chiser Jr. from Decaney, freshman running back. He got invited to the camp after going to Saturday, comes there on Sunday, performs well, and earns the MVP over a lot of highly talented running backs. You had Jonathan Hatton out there from Cibolo Seal, who's committed to Texas A&M, Myson Johnson-Cook from DeSoto. This freshman earned the MVP of the running backs, so he's going to be a player in Houston to watch out for the next 3 to 4 years as he progresses playing on varsity there.
Decaney has had a lot of sleeper players that have actually done really well in college. Goes back to my notion that they're super raw, but then they have so much growth, room to grow. Tanook Hines is killing it for Decaney as it relates to track right now. He's a really good receiver. I can't remember where he committed to. I know he's graduating. USC. Yeah, there you go. But Big Ant, Anthony Williams does a great job out there at Decaney as the head coach, and he really does a great job promoting his kids. So that's exciting to see that Duquesne's got another star coming through the program.
Yeah, and he definitely performed well, but not to say Hatton and Mason Johnson Cook didn't perform well because both of them got invites to the All American game as well. Obviously, Hatton just committed to Texas A&M, I believe, late in March, maybe even early April. So he's been seen as one of, if not the top running back in the state of Texas in the 2026 class. So that was a special moment for him to get that All American game invite. And then Mason Johnson Cook, 2027 kid that Houston people got a little bit familiar with for about a month or two before he transferred, coming down from Illinois, going to Katy, and then transfers to DeSoto. Tore it up at DeSoto last year. I believe he had 900 yards rushing, playing behind DeAndre Ridden, who's now at Texas A&M. He's going to be the featured back this year for DeSoto. He gets the All-American game invite as well, and he's being pushed by every top program in the country. So both of them also had strong performances out there for the running backs.
Chirpiest group. Chirpiest group is definitely receivers and DBs, as we know. We saw that Chase Calicut from North Shore got his All-American invite. Anybody else that really stood out?
I would say Terrell Stinson, 2028 defensive back from Clear Lake. Had over 105 tackles on varsity this year. Had two interceptions. I believe he had 10 tackles for loss. This is a kid that a lot of people should be keeping on their radars in the next few years. Dude is a baller. He's been a baller since I first saw him as an 8th grader last year. Came in this year as a freshman on varsity and was the defensive newcomer of the year. So he's going to be a special player to watch out for. Really like what I saw from him throughout the camp. As far as the wide receivers go, Jordan Clay received a All-American invite as well. He's been one of the top wide receiver prospects in the state of Texas. I believe he's from that San Antonio, Austin area. He performed really well throughout the day. There were some cool battles between him and Chase Calicut. Both are being pushed really hard by some of the same schools. So they're both pretty familiar with each other. And so they were kind of jaw-jacking back and forth, just kind of something like good rep or you got me on that one. So it's just kind of cool seeing those two interact and then they get the All-American invite. So both of those guys performed really well. As far as other receivers, you look at Robert Haynes from Ridgepoint. He won the MVP award. He's a guy who's been picking up some late big-time offers. I believe he just picked up Arkansas, and he's going to be headed up there for a spring practice here pretty soon. So he really stood out as well. And then James Scott was a guy a lot of people were watching from Oak Ridge. He's kind of that wide receiver, tight end, flex-looking type of kid. I'll be interested to see where he lands at. I know he just dropped his top 10, but it looks to be like TCU might be a team to watch out for early in his recruitment right now.
Quarterbacks. There was a good amount of quarterbacks out there.
It was a solid group, kind of from all ages, but it was mainly Houston kids. And normally you see some other kids from different areas kind of come in, but it was a majority of just Houston prospects. And Caleb Maryland from North Shore, he had a great day. Got to talk to him afterwards. His recruitment is going pretty well. He has the OV set up with Utah, setting one up with Washington State, and I believe one other school. And then Grant Smith, who's been a guy who he's kind of had the roller coaster of the kind of recruiting of the recruiting process, and he performed really well out there as well. You look at Donovan Warren. This is a kid that next year everybody will get to know. He's a 2028, was at Bridgeland, was playing JV last year, has always been seen as one of the top players in his class. Now he's at Episcopal High School. He looks to be the starting quarterback at Episcopal next year. He had a big day, so watch out for Donovan Warren next fall. And then obviously Jack Dalton had a great performance again. He's coming off an Elite 11 performance where he was one of the top performers at the Elite 11, finished tied for second in the accuracy challenge, ran a 4.49 40-yard dash, came out there to Under Armour this weekend, did his thing, performed well. Really liked what I saw from him throwing the ball during one-on-ones, not just the deep ball, out routes, in cutting routes, different ways, trying to help receivers not just try to run the deep ball, which is typically what happens at a lot of these camps. So really like what I saw from Dalton, and his stock just kind of continues to gradually rise. And I think that he's due for a big spring. I think a lot of schools are going to come out that maybe got to see him a little bit in the offseason. They're going to come back out in the spring offer. TCU got a really great eval on this kid, and I think he's the sleeper in the 26 class. out of the city of Houston.
So 26, we know who's who. 27, who's your best player out of 27? Just off the dome, off the top of your head.
At the camp,
No, just in Houston.
right now I'd have to say Landon Williams-Cowles.
Agreed.
He wasn't out there because I think he's doing track, and I think he might have gotten banged.
He don't
up.
need to be out there.
Yeah,
He
I think he might have gotten banged up on the track, but I really liked him. But
28.
28 right now, I would have to go TJ Stinson right now
From
from Clear Lake.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really like this kid.
Clear Lake. Why aren't they good? They should be good.
They've got a ton of talent out there. We'll see how they do. I think Stinson is a guy that can go both ways too, so he might be able to do that next year. Obviously, as a freshman coming in, you kind of want to get him comfortable in one spot. Maybe you can mix him in on offense next year, but those are kids I really liked. And then a few kids I forgot about. John Hebert had a great day out at the Under Armour camp. In my personal opinion, I loved what I saw him do. Looked really good coming out of the backfield running routes, which is not necessarily maybe what he's used to at Strake because he rushed for 3,000 yards last year and 40 touchdowns. So majority of the time he's sitting in the eye and he's getting that handoff. So really liked what I saw from him.
He's a senior to be from Strake Jesuit, had a tremendous season last year. I'm not gonna say carried Strake, but he was the bona fide star of that team. What's the recruiting vibe on him right now?
Yeah, right now he's got the offers from the Ivy Leagues, military academies.
Yeah.
He's got schools coming out to see him during spring ball.
Let's see, Rice offered.
I think that for him, it's going to be very helpful when schools come out and watch him play during the spring ball period.
I think he's nice.
Yes,
I think he's nice.
You know what? I was shockingly surprised with how big he is.
Yep.
I didn't realize it until I got to see him in person. Really liked his size, and you can already tell that you could add a little bit more to his frame, but he's already pretty well put together. Really liked him out there. And then also to note, watch out for the Klein running back, 2026 Edward Kelly Jr. He's another kid who had a really good day. I believe this isn't official yet, so we're gonna wait on the times, but supposedly he ran a 4.28 laser 40. If that is true, expect some schools to be hopping by Klein High School to go check out this kid as he rushed for about 2,000 yards last year.
Well, our head coach is a tremendous marketer of talent as well. So Coach Kadudi, that guy's going to end up going somewhere for sure. All right, so I was prepping you because of your story that you did last week about an 8th grader getting offered by Oregon. So what year would that even be? 2029?
Yes.
This is early, which I love. I love this type of stuff. Who is this kid and why did he get offered so early?
So Rush Williams is a kid that I got to meet last year. I believe I didn't realize he was in the 7th grade last year. I thought he was an 8th grader going to high school when I met him because I had a buddy that was like, hey, you got to meet this kid. He's going to be the next Andrew Marsh. And I was like, okay, like let's check him out. And when I walked up to Rush, he just kept getting taller and taller. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on you. And I believe he was like 6'6" at the time in 7th grade. He's now 6'2", 180, moves really well. Is on the 7-on-7 circuit right now. And he's going to be going to Katie Jordan next year. And if you look at Katie Jordan's receivers the past 5 years, they've had at least a guy go Division I pretty much every year. I really like their wide receiver coach. He's really good at developing young talent. I think Rush is going to be a guy like an Andrew Marsh that can make an early impact on varsity as a freshman. Obviously, having the Oregon offer, there's going to be a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure maybe put on him early on, but I think he's built to handle it. His dad, Reggie Williams, was a big-time wide receiver at Washington and then also played in the pros for a little bit. He was the number 9 pick in the NFL draft in 2004. So lots of football lineage there. So I'm very interested to see how Rush plays out, but I really like what I've seen from him so far and looking forward to seeing what he's got at the high school level.
Okay, so yes, that's what people love. They love to hear who the next big thing is. What another guy that is becoming an urban legend kind of is somebody near and dear to my heart because JoJo LaFell played at Lamar. I wrote a book in 2004 about North Shore winning the state championship. Their closest game was against Lamar, and they had a receiver named Brandon LaFell aka JoJo LaFell, who went to LSU and played like 7, 8 years in the NFL. His son is going to Shadow Creek. I believe he's going to Shadow, and I think he's going to be a ninth grader this year. And he is freaky good. He looks great in basketball, but I think he's more of a football guy. And this guy could possibly be like, they're billing him as the #1 dual sport athlete in the state of Texas right now. And he's going to be a freshman in high school next year.
And he just picked up an offer from Florida Atlantic.
Boom. Let's go.
So I really so you got LaFell, but you also have Joseph Adai's son, Jalen Adai, who's a freshman right now at Shadow Creek, and he's tearing it up on both the basketball court and football court or football field. So it's very interesting to see some of these pros kids start to pop up. I think that it's another case. Shadow Creek is just seems to be loaded with talent this year. They just got a transfer quarterback, Tavis Coleman, who is related to Samara Coleman, who has been a VYPE favorite. I believe she's on one of these covers somewhere. But it's just crazy the amount of talent that is over there. Shadow Creek, high expectations again this year. Very high expectations.
Tyrell Green. He didn't want to hear that, but man, we got y'all penciled in, going, winning the district. Y'all winning signing day is what they're winning. Samara Coleman, yes, tremendous volleyball player. And then she signed with Pitt and then got out of it and transferred to Baylor. I just saw that. So anyways, that's really cool. But you're right. There's a ton of kids that are pro children coming from professional athletes that are coming up, which is kind of really cool to see. I'm excited. So yes, we're going to get Adai on. We're going to get Rush on at some point. We're going to get LaFell on. We're going to get him on the podcast, and they're all going to be like not even in high school yet. It's going to be awesome, and we're going to say, "Remember when Jalen Hurts? Remember when?" And then boom, they're going to make their career. It's going to be amazing. Okay, any other parting notes?
Yeah, one other kid that I shouldn't have forgot. Alvin Mosley from Crawford was awesome. First time seeing him play.
So people don't even know where Crawford is. It's the new school in Fort Bend ISD, which is a beautiful, like let's call it like a Google type of campus. Carry on. Keep going.
Mosley.
I'm just giving people like Crawford. Is that Crawford, Texas? Like near Ain't? Yeah. Go, carry on.
Mosley has been slowly picking up offers for football and has been picking up offers for basketball. Had a really strong sophomore year on varsity this year for football. I would have to check the stats, but I believe they made the playoffs for football.
They did.
And might have won made a few rounds deep in the playoffs, which would have been their first year kind of being able to play in the playoffs. And then also in basketball, this kid averaged 30 points per game. 30 points per game.
It's
and
4A.
Was the district, it doesn't matter.
I know.
30 points per game, go across any board of divisions. If you're averaging 30 points per game, you're different at the high school level. And he's averaging 30 points per game and doing what he does on the football field. And he's getting offers for both right now. He just picked up Florida State last week. This is the next kid in Fort Bend IC. And he could be the first one at Crawford. The first
100%.
big-time athlete to be recruited out of that school that's probably within the past 4 years of it being created as a school. So,
you know who he kind of reminds me of athletically is he went to Cypress Park and he played football and basketball. And he's the only person that's come out of Cy Park. And he's the starting linebacker for LSU. Harold Perkins.
That is a strong comparison.
He's got that type of athleticism. And Harold Perkins was a basketball player. That dude was a hooper. And then he just said, I'm quitting. And he went out. He really quit football to play basketball. And then the coach is like, bro, you're a football star. And he's like, And he comes back. And they make him basically work out with the freshmen when he was playing varsity because he didn't do offseason. Anyways, but he's kind of got that vibe, and the momentum that he's kind of getting is similar to that.
I'll be interested. Mosley is going to be a player I'm going to watch very closely. over the next few months. I think he could be a 20+ offer kid by the time his junior year starts. And then we're looking at maybe the top wide receiver prospect in 2027.
He's going off. And I'm not sure he's a receiver. Maybe he is.
Yeah,
He can
no,
play virtually anywhere on the football field.
definitely. I would say after watching him this week, he's high up. I will say whenever our rankings come out for the magazine, this kid will be up towards the top of the 2027 rankings.
Love it. All right, there you go. That's a recruiting show, man. We got a lot of info. Jackson just threw up on you. He just dripped on you right there. Okay, so we'll catch it up in the next couple of weeks as well. More recruiting, more updated rankings, more offers. Just follow us all the time because it's minute by minute as these kids go portaling, of kids that we covered in the past couple of years. They go in the portal or whatever they might do, but this recruiting gets hot. All right, Matt Malatesta, Jackson DiPasquale. Follow us on all of our social media channels. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Keep that thing growing. Keep it growing. All right, see y'all at the games.